Good afternoon, Red Foxes. This is Campbell Woods here, head coach men's rowing. Coming at you today with a quick little race preview for the upcoming Head of the Charles, which we've got going on this weekend. Very excited to have a strong crew here getting lined up for the race. I'm going to give you a quick little recap of the last couple of weeks, and then we'll jump into who's in the crew and talk a little bit about our alumni entries as well, and get you a little race preview here today. The varsity 8, second varsity 8, and third varsity 8 all rode at Williams 2 weeks ago. It was a great race for us. We ran a really good workout with Williams. It was 4 by 1900 meters. Followed with a 750 and a 350. And overall, great performance by the team. The varsity won every piece with Williams, which was the first time we'd had some wins over them in a long time at that level. So very cool to see at that end of the crew, and very promising for our varsity 8. The third varsity and the second varsity split pieces with Williams, so they went basically 2 and 2 over the course of the morning. That was 2 weeks ago, and since then, probably the biggest development is that we have had to whittle down our second varsity 8 to build a collegiate 4 for the Head of the Charles. And so we did a whole bunch of seat racing and prepping with the athletes. I should say, we didn't actually do any formal switches for seat racing for this group. We had a notion of who we thought would be in the boat, and when we put that boat together, it took off. But we did race a number of 4s together just to see what they would look like. And we ended up selecting the Collegiate 4, which is Ian Sondoff, Austin Thomas, James Hodgendreas, and Jackson Bauer. And then Evie Diskay to cox the boat. All of them are sophomores except for James, who is a junior this year. And so pretty cool group. We ended up, we are running them in the lineup that I just listed them as. So Ian is the stroke seat, and then we have a bucket on starboard side with Austin in 3 and James in 2, and then Jackson is sitting in the bow. We ran that lineup a number of times in practice, and it had a little bit better set, a little bit better run. And the guys have been rowing really well in that grouping. The varsity 8 is the same varsity 8 that we put out for the Williams duel. Right now we have William Shockley in the stroke seat. He's a sophomore. Freshman Ryan Tuttle from Pittsfield, New York in 7. Charlie Latimer, sophomore, in 6 seat. Reed Livingston, also sophomore, in 5. We've got Kevin Murray from St. Joe's Prep, freshman, in the 4 seat. Newcomer Matthias Topping, a junior, snuck into the 3 seat. Tristan Wistuba, who was our stroke seat from last year, is sitting in 2 seat. He's a junior. And then we have freshman Nick Scarano in the bow, and Tessa Kurtzman, a senior, in the coxswain seat. Overall, the boat is a combination of some older athletes who have been well tested. We have a group of sophomores who are coming out of our really strong varsity 8 and varsity 4 that we ran at the end of last spring. And then 3 newcomer freshmen in Ryan Tuttle and Kevin Murray and Nick Scarano. who have all come in very fast and are doing a great job for us. So the boat is very young. There's only the one senior, Tessa, in the coxswain seat, and everybody else, has been making big progression on their career. The group that came in, the returning crew from the IRA last year, Shockley, Latimer, and Reed, all three of those guys came back with a lot of energy and enthusiasm and have taken huge next steps on the ergometer, fitness wise. I think the whole crew has taken a big next step technically. And even the incoming freshmen have made some big gains and changes in that area just in the couple of months that they've been here. And then the surprise returner to this group is Matthias, who is really a kind of classic Marist rowing story. He's a smaller guy, came from a very small high school in New Jersey called St. Joe's High School, not to be confused with Joe's Prep. And Matthias spent most of his high school career rowing in doubles. Had some good competition in that area, but since he's been at Marist, he's mostly been in our 3V and 4V boats, and did a lot of great work over the last 2 years. Has been a kind of a quiet hard worker, and came back this fall firing on all cylinders, really pushing on the erg, and his weight adjusted times are among the top, if not consistently the top on the team. So he's producing, for his weight, a ton of wattage, and so that was kind of our initial, indicator to give him a look. And then whenever he hopped in the boat, it just seemed like it was running really well, and he has made probably his biggest improvement, among other things, has been his technical ability. I would say Matthias was probably among the 5 worst rowers I've ever seen technically when he arrived at Marist, and he's rowing exceptionally well right now in comparison. And so we're really proud of the work he's done. And I think it's an indicator to all of our athletes that, the progression that you're going to see is not always linear. It's not always one step and then another step and then another step. Sometimes you're going to be working for a while before you see a payoff. And I think Matthias is a good example of an athlete who has been in the shadows a lot and has just kept his head down and worked really hard towards his goals. And now he's seeing those goals start to pay off. And that's been really cool to watch, and definitely a fun energy to have him in the boat with us. The rest of the crew are great guys. We've talked a lot about them in the past. We're excited to have this group racing together. I think, my impression as the coach, when I'm thinking about crews and fast crews that we've had in the past and how they're different and similar, I think that this is a unique group for sure. I think they're very quiet. And what I mean by that is I think sometimes in the past our fast crews have been like a little bit loud or bombastic and like very high energy driven, and occasionally had more maybe what you call type A personalities in there, guys who were like very verbal, out in front types of leaders. And this boat, at least on the water, the presence they have is much quieter than some of those crews, but it's very driven. And I think that there's a very unique trust among this group of athletes that they all know that everyone in there is working their hardest, and they're all pushing each other really hard every day. And so I think it's been exciting. And I think also the selection of Tessa as their coxswain is an indicator of the kind of attitude of the boat. Tessa, as a coxswain, um, she's an extremely aggressive, competitive coxswain, and the crew likes that energy. They like that she helps to draw that out of them as a crew. And so I think that her selection for that boat is reflective of that. That's our two crews that are racing in the Collegiate 4, Collegiate 8. As far as what we are going to do at the race, I hate making predictions in general, and for the Charles, it's particularly hard. This course is extremely technical. It's very narrow. A lot of things can happen. Based on the fitness we have seen, the Varsity 8 could get a top 5, could even win it if they have their best piece and they have a little bit of luck. They are starting further back in the pack because of where we finished the last 2 years. So we are starting in 18th position, and so that means in all likelihood we are going to have to pass at least one, maybe even two crews that are ahead of us, and that creates a challenge to have your best lines and to complete the course in the fastest possible way. And so that's I think the biggest challenge for the boat is just managing the piece, managing the effort. We're excited to see what we can do, but like I said, I think that based on if this was a straight laned course, I think this boat would easily be in the top 10, probably top 5, with a nose in to potentially win it. The 4 is a little bit even more the Wild West. They are at least starting further up in the pack. They're starting in 10th place, which they came in 10th last year, in spite of running into a bunch of crews along the race course or getting in situations that slowed them down, I would say, on the race course, having to avoid other teams. And so I think that's this crew on the fitness side numerically doesn't look much different than last year's crew, but watching them row, they row much better together than last year's crew. It's a much smoother rhythm, and they're not having to work as hard for it as it seemed last year's boat did. And so we're super excited to see how they do. Again, I think a top 5 is very possible, maybe even more possible for this crew, on account of they're just starting further up in the pack and having more fast crews around them and probably less passing and jostling for position. And again, I think with their best piece they could win it, but they are up against some seriously difficult crews. I think in the 4, it's a little bit different. The top crews in there, many of them are the top 4 athletes from those schools. So, for example, I know that the University of San Diego will be there. They had their top 4 guys in their 4 last year. Stetson University, same thing. And so this being our top 4 out of our second varsity 8 changes the dynamic a little bit. I still think they can do really well, but it's it's an interesting situation. Just like athletes are not same for same, apples to apples between each team necessarily. I wanted to quickly mention also our alumni who are racing this weekend. There are going to be 2 men's alumni 8s racing in the alumni 8 category and the club 8 category on Saturday. And we're also going to have a women's alumni 8 and a women's alumni 4 representing the Red Fox Navy. So I'm going to give you a quick rundown of those lineups. The Club 8, which is our B boat for the alumni, is going to have Claire Connolly, who is class of 2019, in the coxswain seat. I might have had that wrong. I think Claire is 2020, class of 2020. She'll be driving. And then in the lineup, we have Dimitri Gunther, who is class of 21. Brendan McLaughlin, class of 2017. And we've got Matthew Blazik, class of 2020. Kevin Coomey, I believe he's also class of 2017, along with Gloff. And we've got Liam Cusack, class of 23. And Sam Clammer, class of 20. Oh my gosh, Sam, what class? He's the same class as Gloff, so he's going to be class of 2017. And then we've got Jake Addison. I believe he's class of 2024, and Thomas Graves also class of 2024. Great group of guys representing a whole bunch of different athletes. I coached all of these athletes at one time or another, so it's really cool to see that boat come together. And a lot of faces in there that we haven't seen in a little while. In particular, we haven't seen Blazik in a couple of years, and this is the first time Gloff has popped his head up for a little while. So it'll be really cool to see those guys all together in one place and also rowing together. No idea where that boat will land in terms of the competition. The Club 8 is truly the Wild West as far as racing categories go at the Charles, but I'm expecting that they will have a reasonably good run, probably a middle of the pack finish. The goal for that boat will be to break into the top half of the field and hopefully secure a returning bid for the following year, which would be really cool. The A boat, which is racing in the Alumni 8 category, is a really cool boat. I think all of us coaches, we always have a list of like superstar athletes that we've coached, or, every class has one or two guys who were either really tall or really fast or rode really well. And you always kind of want to see your best athletes together. And you always wondered like what that would look like if you had your kind of all-star crew put together. And this year is going to be very close for me, which is exciting and fun. We have a whole group of guys, basically Chris Carlson, who is class of 2019, and rode at Marist for his freshman and sophomore years before transferring to Washington. He rode for 2 years at UW, was in the grand final at the IRA. He has won several world championships with the U.S. national team. He was a bronze medal Olympian in the Paris Games, the recent Paris Games, in the men's 8. And he was just at the World Championship this summer. They were 4th place in the men's quad. So he is an absolutely exceptional athlete. I believe that he currently holds the current fastest erg score in the U.S. for the 2K. He's either first or possibly second. And Chris agreed last year around this time to join up and row with the Red Fox Navy this year at the head of the Charles, which is really cool, especially since he didn't graduate from Marist. He graduated at UW, but he still has a great connection with a lot of the guys from his class. And that really fired up the whole group to get to training and work really hard to try to make a strong 8 for the Alumni 8, which is pretty cool because we'd already been doing pretty well in the event, making the cut every year. And last year, I believe we broke into the 18th position. And so this boat is certainly fitter than recent years, and it includes a lot of top athletes from past crews. So we've got Ryan Lillis, who is class of 2018. He's going to be driving the boat for us. In stroke seat, we've got Gavin Crouch, who is class of 2023. Gavin's class of 2024. He was rowing last year with Oxford Brookes University, and attended the Henley over the summer. And Gavin is going to be stroking the boat for us. Behind him is Chris Carlson, class of 2019. And as I mentioned, also UW alum and U.S. national team member. Morgan Stippa is going to be sitting in sixth seat. Morgan is class of 2018 along with Lillis. He is crazy tall, really fast oarsman, super fit. I know a lot of the young alumni have been keeping tabs on his running times, and he's been off running like crazy fast marathon times and things. He's an absolute beast of an athlete. Tad Bindus, class of 2019, is in 5 seat. Good friend of Carlson's. Tad was an exceptional rower while he was here. He is, I believe, second place on our record board for the 2K and the 6K, or at least the 6K. He may not be for the 2K. He's second place on the 6K times. And great guy, pumped to have him back. He just graduated with his PhD this year, and we're super pumped to have him in the boat. Jordan Irving, class of 22. Jordan also attended Brookes, Oxford Brookes, for 2 years. He was over there, and then was back in the States last year coaching at University of San Diego, and recently left that position and is working in his chosen field, cybersecurity, in the San Diego area, but he's going to be joining us for this race in the 4 seat. We've got Axel and Durek Durwood. Axel graduated in 2024 with Gavin, and he has been actually helping out as a coach. He has been super helpful to the program. Great guy. Super pumped to see him make it into this boat. He's been working really hard. Axel's been training for the New York Marathon, and he also works at a erg studio down in the city called, I'm blanking on the name of it. It's Row House. So if you ever want to get some instruction on the erg, you can go hook up with Axel down in New York. Ray Mattingly is going to sit 2 seat. Ray was class of 2019 and phenomenal athlete. He was the stroke seat for most of the years that he was here at Marist. Extremely competitive athlete, worked really hard to make this boat. Another guy who's a good friend of Carlson's and part of that crew. So we're pumped to see him in the boat. And then our bow seat's going to be Alexander Missert, class of 22. Alexander's a crazy hard worker. He probably is the most consistent erg user as a former athlete. I think according to him, he's on the erg pretty much every day and actually really enjoys that process. So really pumped to see him in there. And again, just a great kind of all-star boat. We're pumped for that crew to see what they can do. We start in 18th position. The boat is significantly stronger, not just because Carlson is in there and has a ton of firepower himself, but the strength and fitness of the other athletes is measurably, significantly better than last year's boat. So I think it's a great year to be shooting for a top 10, maybe even a top 5. Really, really excited personally to see these guys rowing together. And just a cool reunion overall for the whole group, A and B boats. Again, I maybe it's a sign of my age, but I've been at Marist long enough now that all these athletes that are racing this weekend including the alumni, are guys that I coached while they were here. And so it's really cool for me to see, selfishly, but also I think really cool for the program to have so much energy and excitement around this event. That's all I've got for today. We are really excited for the race. The varsity and the four were in Boston this past Saturday doing a recon of the course with our coxswains, and also did some community service for the Charles and helped get their docks in for the event. We're feeling very good about our approach. I think that this week's been a little bit tough. We haven't gotten on the water yesterday or today as a result of this big northeaster that has been blowing through the United States, but that is subsiding and we'll be able to get some good practice time tomorrow and the following 2 days in the lead up to the event. We hope that you'll stop by at the Charles. As usual, the trailer and the team will be operating out of most likely Lot 4, which is in the FALS or FOWLS area. It's kind of the main part of the Head of the Charles course. I will post with this video some instructions about how to find us. And following racing on Saturday for the alumni, I'll get you the race times here. Just a moment. So the alumni 8 race at 11 o'clock and 11:15, men and women. And then the women's alumni 4 races at 12:04, and the men's club 8 races at 1:30 p.m. So we hope you'll join us in Boston. Come down, say hi to the crews. I'll drop you all a pin for where our trailer is located once we arrive. I'll get that up on our website. And then following racing that day, most of the group will be hanging out at the beer tent area in the Fowls rowing area. We'll bring a big Marist banner so people can spot us. And we hope that you'll join us and grab a drink and socialize with the crews and hang out. That afternoon, there will also be some racing for our varsity women who are racing in the Women's Club 4 and the Women's Club 8. And then the men's varsity collegiate cruise race on Sunday afternoon. Thank you, everybody who's been coming out for practices, and special thanks to Brendan Mulvey, who is a big organizer at the Charles and has helped hook us up with our opportunities to row up there. And we will look forward to seeing you all in Boston. Go Red Foxes.